Just like Abraham, the Lord gave me a promise. Yeah, it didn't seem like that it would ever come true. I kept believing, I kept trusting, I kept obeying his voice, because I knew what he promised me that he was able to do. And you know what? And then it finally happened.
Mayor, how are you doing in 2020?
Well, so far, Chief, I think we're doing great in 2020. We closed out 2019 with some positive results. We were able to...
Now let's talk about you first in 2020. Now, 2019, you was Mayor Lawrence Tony Haygood. We are now into 2020. Who are you now?
I'm Mayor Lawrence Tony Haygood in 2020. And,
say no difference, huh?
No difference. It's just that we're very optimistic because we're into this next decade, 2020, into a new year. And we worked through some challenges of 2019, but we are very optimistic about 2020.
What's the spirit this year, man? You think the spirit of the city is any better off now than it was when you took over?
Well, overall, Chief, I'd say that the spirit of the larger, greater part of the city is great. And I say that because I see so many citizens, so many individuals, so many organizations doing things in our community to help. They're volunteering in certain ways, they're getting involved, they're assisting. Now, we have some pockets where there's some people who are disgruntled, which you'll have anywhere. You have some people who are dissatisfied, but the majority of the people, I think, have created a very, very positive spirit, as we have people from the university cleaning up Pleasant Springs Drive and the highway. We have citizens with the Clean City Committee getting involved throughout the city cleaning up. We had tourists who came and said how nice the city looked, and it was because our citizens got up and gave input. When we had the Christmas festival on the square, holidays on the square, for the first time, we had a tremendous response of the citizens and their children on the square who seemed to have a great time. But it was all because citizens got involved together, different fraternities, organizations, individuals in the community, to make things happen, working with the city and the county and the chambers. So I think that the spirit is very, very positive because people are working together for the most part.
What's prompting this new attitude, Mayor?
I think the thing that's prompting the new attitude is the realization that if we can work together, we see positive results. If we put aside our differences, which we will always have, but not let them be the thing that guides us, we can get somewhere together. I think it's also a recognition that so many people are telling us as they come to Tuskegee that we have a great city. See, it's easy when you're in your own house, you see the smaller things that you need to do, but you don't see the greater things that are already here that we're blessed with. And so many people come to Tuskegee on these tours or speakers and they say, oh, y'all have got a great community. So yes, we have some things we have to do, but look at the greater things we have in this community. So if we take those great things and concentrate on them and expand upon those great things, we can work on the smaller problems that we have to deal with. So I think we're realizing that, and more people are anxious to get involved, to improve some of the properties we have there, to assist with highlighting our community and what we have to offer, and to make the most of what we already have.
Is anything being done to stop the population dwindling that was happening in the community?
I think the key thing that's being done is communication to see how we can address the housing need. When we kind of did an informal survey, we found out that the greatest thing holding us back is the lack of available housing. And I'll give you a for instance. We recently, I was told, had a coach hired by one of the institutions here. And that coach and his wife wanted to locate in Tuskegee. Well, they looked around and couldn't find the housing that they wanted. So they located in Wall, which was not far away, because as a coach, you've got to be in this community all the time for practice, day and night, practice is late. So you want to be there near where your job is and where you have to spend a lot of your time. But coming in as a younger couple, they didn't find what they were looking for initially. Now, as people are coming in, investors are coming in now to fix up some of this property, we want to make a better housing stock available. Utilities Board has worked to get some property, which we possibly develop a very nice subdivision, a full development, which will make better housing available and mixed use area where you'll have smaller businesses along with nice housing. So we see housing as a challenge for us, and I think that as we address that, that'll stop some of the population loss that we realize. Also, people are more optimistic now, and that's what's causing us to be able to address that population loss. They see new businesses coming in, they see new opportunities. When people see hope and opportunities, then they're more likely to stay and to get involved in the community where we are now.
Now, what have you found to be the best method of governing in this community? Do you just jump in the office and bring your own ideas and do it the way you want to do it, or do you find that it's better to reach out and touch and work with the people to decide what is best for the city?
Well, it's two things in that, Chief, and it's easy for me to say the easy answer, which is best to reach out to people and work with the people, which I know that is the best way to do it, and you have to do that. You have to communicate with people, you have to hear their ideas, you have to put them into place as much as possible. But at the same time, there's some times that you have to make decisions that are best for the community because you have more information than the average person has. And sometimes a person says, well, why do we do this? Because there's some other things that they may not realize on the other side that you're responsible for. And that's why as an elected official, you have to take in all that information that may come from the state, may come from the federal government, may come from department heads that the average citizen may or may not have. But the best way is to get that input and feedback from citizens through community meetings, through talking to people at the stores, at the service stations as I do, anywhere in the community, and then incorporate those in your decision-making process. But one failure that you have, if you look at anything about leadership, is when you do not make decisions with good information. That sometimes you and I have had discussions about things. Sometimes you say, Mayor, why don't you do this? And I said, Chief, well, did you know this? And when you get the other information, you have a different look. Or you share something to me and I don't know. I say, oh, okay, I'll go and change my approach. But you have to get that input. Then you have to make a decision. Indecision is dangerous, and sometimes people want indecision and too much input, and then you don't do anything. So I think it's the key way to govern and to govern effectively, particularly in our community, is to talk to citizens here. Whether it's at McDonald's, whether it's at the grocery store, at the service station, at community meetings that they have in the various communities, whether it's over in Maryville Subdivision or in Green Fork and Greenwood or at the church. You get good information, incorporate it into what you're doing, and make the best decision that you see based on the information that you have.
Now, in a city this size, do you really have time for an open door policy? I hear you say you going out to the people.
Right.
That same thing as open door?
Pretty much. Citizens come here at any time. When I'm not in a meeting, I will try to take time to hear from the citizens. I try to keep an open door because, particularly in a smaller community, you can get good information and you have a connection with the people more directly. There are times when you can't because you're just too busy, but I always tell them, say, call me back, or talk to my assistant, or talk to the administrative assistant here at City Hall, and we'll get back with you. But it's good to have an open door policy. That's why I tell citizens all the time when I'm on the radio or wherever, if you see me, if you got an issue, you can stop and tell me. If I'm not in a rush or on a deadline for an appointment, I'll stop and hear you and try to understand what you're saying, then see what we can do about it. Get it to the city manager, get it to the city council, or get it to a department head, and see if we can address your issue or concern.
Now, I'll tell you one thing that has improved. The ladies that you have out here in front in your office as receptionists, personality is 100% plus. What did you put into that to make sure that that change happened?
I think the key thing was getting an understanding of the expectation of customer service, reaching out to people and being responsive to the needs of citizens. Just the responsiveness is the key thing to starting to answer some of the problems that citizens may face. Sometimes we can't get a resolution immediately, but the fact that they know that we heard them, we've acknowledged that there's something that needs to be addressed, and we plan to do something about it, goes a long ways. And so we're trying to get our entire staff to understand it's how you relate to people that has a difference. Whether it's at the city or the utilities board, we want to make sure that they understand they can talk to us, even when they don't come in with the right attitude. All of us get upset sometimes. But we as customer service representatives of the city have to hear that, need to hear it, and then help you address that and and hopefully alleviate some of that frustration that sometimes our citizens come in with. And it's understandable. Some things haven't been addressed for years and years and years. So we're just trying to find a way to address those things that may have been overlooked or neglected for a long period of time. We're taking the resources that we have, coming up with a plan about how to address them timely.
And lots of people who come up through here come in here with preconceived notions that it's not going to do any good and you're not going to hear them anyhow, right?
Yeah, and it's easy to happen when you have things that haven't been able to be addressed for various reasons, whether it was finance or just ignored in their community. They're going to be frustrated, and they don't expect things to be done, and so we tell them we're going to try to address it. We don't try to give any empty promises and say we're going to do that tomorrow or next week. We say we're going to address it. We go look at the budget, see if we can do it, and I've been very pleased with our acting city manager. Most recently, Mr. Roberts has done a tremendous job of addressing some things. One key example, when we had the big problem on Chandler Street in front of the alumni house right before homecoming, that was a huge problem. That street we had to almost shut off that street because of a big hole in the street, because of a manhole, and part of it came from the university, and part of it was our connection. We had to get with the university to get it straightened out and get their approval and get the connection done. And it took a lot of coordinating, but we got it done because he talked and I talked and he talked with the department heads, and they responded right before homecoming. Had it not been done, we'd have had a major, major problem. But we didn't say we were going to do this. Was a problem that had been there for years and years and years. But we had to find a way to address it, and fortunately we could address it timely. Now on some other streets we've had people, for instance, over at Emmanuel Baptist Church. They got a major problem with their street. That street has deteriorated over years, never had any been addressed. But we're trying to put it on a schedule to address it and help them right now. We don't have the money to go in there immediately to do it, but we've talked with the pastor, we've talked with some of the key deacons, and we're working to see how we can address that issue. So we try to be realistic in terms of responding to people, because a number of these things have been there for a number of years. Take Bibb Street, for instance. We just got a grant, $450,000 grant from the state of Alabama. I was there with Governor Ivey to receive the check to repave Bibb Street. We're going to put in new water lines thanks to Utilities Board of Tuskegee. We're going to put in new water lines. We're going to pave that street. We're going to take down about 18 houses in the area on Bibb Street and on a couple of side streets there. Abandoned houses that will be taken down. So the whole street will look better. The abandoned houses will be taken down. New water lines will be put in. The street will be paved. It's been years and years and years since Bibb Street has been paved. And everyone knows that's one of the longest streets in our city, and it's a key street connecting Highway 80, MLK, to West Montgomery, or Old Montgomery Road as we know it, which a lot of people take. And it also connects to the university and the back gate to the game. So that's a very key street in terms of activity.
Now, what's the timetable on that project?
I just signed the papers about 2 weeks ago, right before Christmas, and turned it in. We actually have a meeting planned with our staff, with our acting city manager, our new city manager, Mr. Owens, coming in, with city clerk, Ms. Clark, to keep us on schedule, and a couple of other staff people to start addressing this with ADECA, Alabama Department of Community Economic and Community Affairs, which helped give us a grant, SCADC, our Regional Planning Commission, and Goodwood Mills and Haygood, who is the engineering group that will perform it. We'll be meeting in the next week or two to get a schedule and outline how to address this. They gave us 180 days. It's probably going to take a little more than 6 months because we're putting in water pipes, we're putting in sidewalks, and we're paving and taking out 18 houses probably over the next 9 months. So you'll probably see something started about the 1st of February, but we won't finish it I don't expect it to be finished until probably early summer, or possibly even going into the fall, because it's a major project. It's one of the longest consecutive streets in our community.
Is there any effort to get black contractors involved in that project?
We'll make every effort to get qualified black contractors involved. I say to people all the time, I'm very aggressive toward getting minority contractors, particularly black contractors and other minorities involved, females, women, Hispanics, other minorities. But I'm also very aggressive in making sure you're qualified. Now, I don't like putting anybody not qualified on any job, and I don't say that there's not people who can do it. Even in the job in this office, I know people, I know friends, I can't hire or recommend somebody who can't do the job. But we will make every effort to get minority contractors. So if there, I know there are a lot of minority contractors out there. Make sure they have their license, make sure they show us experience. We will run to get them involved in the project, because that's our effort. And usually within most contracts, there is a requirement to get minority participation. If not, we'll put it in there.
Now, all the stuff that you were talking to me about sound like it ought to be the duties of a full-time mayor. You're not a full-time mayor, right? You're a part-time mayor doing two jobs, right?
I'm sorry, Chief. By description, I'm part-time. If you look at the office here, if you look at my other office at the Community Development Corporation, there's nothing part-time about it. If you travel with me or my assistant or a part of my family, they'll tell you I get calls all the time, day and night. I get calls 11, 12 at night.
So you were working two full-time jobs,
oh,
right?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you do on the other job? What's your requirements over there if you ever get over there?
Oh, I'm there every day. I go between the two places every day. Just before I came over here, I went over there. Yesterday morning I came here first thing about 7:30. Went over there and then come back. Over
there is
Tuskegee Macon County Community Development Corporation. That's where we do business planning for small businesses and entrepreneurs. We give them assistance. We helped a number of entrepreneurs get started in this community. We do income taxes. This is tax season. We have a VITA program, which is volunteer income tax assistance, which we're certified through the Internal Revenue Service to help citizens get their taxes done. We've done that for probably the last almost 10 years that I've been over there. We work with the university in terms of projects in the community. We help get information out about property taxes, how to save your property. We brought banks over and credit unions. We had First Liberty Bank over, and we also had a session where we had the whole credit union over to talk about housing opportunities for citizens in the community. So we work on all kind of community development programs to help citizens in the community with their projects, their business, or their housing and other business ideas.
So now, where do you get that kind of commitment to be that functional in those two high-power positions, man?
Well, it comes from background. I mean, my dad, as a minister, he worked two jobs. I mean, he had a job with a church, and most of our churches here are moderate to smaller size. He had a moderate-sized church that did well, and he got a full-time salary from it, but he also had to have another job. And he was always going, and he taught us early on about working and the importance of working, so it just was instilled in me. And then I worked at the community college a number of years, and I worked 18, 20 hours a day at the community college because we were a smaller college with limited resources, but we had to still fulfill those responsibilities and meet the accreditation standard. So you have to work long hours to keep that going in a smooth operation when you have limited resources. You do multiple things. So I kind of got used to it, and the same thing here. The Community Development Corporation is operating on a very, very slim budget. So I just have to put in extra time to help make it happen, because before the Obama administration, they had good funding. Then the Obama administration came and gave continued good funding. But as soon as you had the ballot Republicans with Obama administration, they cut out a lot of the HUD programs, and that was a program that came in the HUD. So the foundational resources from the federal government are not there. So we have to generate our resources, which is a challenge in a community like Tuskegee, Macon County, because we're just not a very wealthy economic community. We're what they call depressed, challenged economic community. But we have to try to provide those services as best we can. So you have to put in a lot of effort to make things go, and you may not have the resources you need, but you're still expected to deliver the services. So we do the best we can on that.
Well, all right then. I heard you mention acting city manager versus incoming city manager. What is that about?
Acting city manager who just went out was Mr. Roberts, Ulysses Roberts, here from Tuskegee. Did a great job. He was allowed to have the acting position for 4 months, and then we had an interim, and he came back in for 4 more months. And so we have hired him as a consultant during the transition to help the new city manager who will be coming in. New acting city manager will be Mr. Kelvin Owens. He's coming in from Birmingham. He has a wealth of experience, over 20 plus years working as administrative assistant up in the city of Birmingham with 4 different mayors of Birmingham.
Okay, so you're going from acting to acting?
Yeah, he's going to come in as acting. He's going to decide whether he'll be permanent or not. That'll give us a chance to take a look at him and decide if we want to try to offer him a permanent position, if he wants to stay permanent, and also give us a chance to seek a permanent city manager. The challenge in this form of government for me in a small community such as Tuskegee, which may not be the most appealing to everybody that has a qualification, you've got to find somebody who has the skills to run a government with a lot of challenges in this community. We have a lot of political challenges, as many people know, and we have a lot of other challenges because we're a small rural community in an area where there are great expectations. Now you have other rural communities, they know that they're smaller, they're rural, so they don't have the kind of expectations people in Tuskegee have. You have a lot of diverse people who come to Tuskegee and they have expectations for a high level of services. Well, that's okay if you have the resources, but sometimes people forget, and I remind them, we have a smaller population, we're in a rural community, and most of the people at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock leave this community. So those are not resources that are staying here. A large number of people who used to live here years ago left a long time ago. People from the VA, our upper scale jobs, left a long time ago. So now we're rebuilding that. And so we're rebuilding with limited resources, but we're getting there. We're making progress. And we're getting people to start to look into this community and to invest here, like out at Exit 38 and down at Washington Plaza. You see some new businesses down there. And downtown, who are our own homegrown people opening up at the Yellow Store and C&K Wings. And so now you see new energy, and I think that'll sort of increase and help us rebuild our community.
Well, you're right about the Yellowstone. I went in there Sunday, and I had a line wrapped around the whole store. I stood in line, man, 30 minutes just to get a meal, you know. So, but you know what? That made me feel really good,
Yes.
man. And then I go over Blue Seas, and I see a line
That's
in
right.
Blue Seas. So something's happening here, and it's got to be for the good.
It's young entrepreneurs, and that's why I'm so pleased. Local people and some of our people who recognize if you provide good services, people will come. And then people starting to recognize you don't have to break your neck running up the highway to go to get what you can get right here in Tuskegee. You can get some good services. If you get the people together and support them, they'll provide what you need. And I think people are starting to realize that, and we'll see more and more people offering more and more services. We're talking to people right now who want to open up businesses, and we're telling them what they need to do it the right way, and encouraging them to provide good service. If you provide good service, people will come, they'll pass the word to the next set of folks, and they'll be there. Last night we had a late meeting after the utilities board. Well, I went home, turned on my lights, and I hadn't had a chance to fix anything. I figured my sister had their dinner and brother-in-law, so I said, I don't feel like fixing anything, I'm going to come back downtown. And I called and came back down to C&K Wings, which wasn't here, last year, but it's fortunately opened up, and they were open until, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, and got what I needed and had, something good to eat. But that's because energy and people doing things, opening up and staying open. Joshua on 80 is almost 24 hours, not all the time, but he's up 2, 3, or 4 in the morning, providing gas, which we didn't have in the community. So if you get stuck and you need gas, we have that service available. So we have some entrepreneurs who are taking that risk, and fortunately we're supporting them, recognizing that we need these services. Family Foods, with Mr. Washington, has been here for years. People are realizing he has good things in there that you can get. If you ask him, he'll get them. I asked him for some juice called, it's a healthy juice called Naked Juice. A lot of people know what that is because it's healthy. Mm-hmm. And he got some of those juices in there, and I was very pleased. And I tell other people so he can keep them in and keep them in the rotation. So as people provide the services and we work with our people, we get a lot more here, and that's starting to happen.
So where do we go from here by way of improved public service to year 2020?
Right.
And I say again, if you could bottle up the positive attitude that you have out here at your receptionist spot in your office and sell it, then we could go around town and sell it to everybody, and I know we would bloom. What do you say to the people who's in business here? I know you've alluded to developing good public service, but how do you do that? What do people need to do to make sure that the frontline forces in their offices or businesses are up to par and ready to represent?
I think the key thing, Chief, is being available to hear criticism and to hear things brought to their attention that need to be addressed. None of us like to hear criticism because that means something's not right. But criticism is not negative always. It can be positive in the sense that people are giving suggestions that we may need to hear. And so we need to let managers know, store owners know when there's a problem, and then give them an opportunity to address it and solve it. The key thing for the managers and the people at the stores is to understand you're there to serve the public. You want to do everything you can within your power to provide the best product in the best way to our citizens and others who come to visit. We had a situation, for instance, at one of our new businesses at Exit 38. And tons of people were coming in, and I was getting calls from people who were upset because of the way some things were handled. So I expressed to them and told them, go talk to the management. And the management is addressing some of that. I had the same thing over here, this local store right here in town. And just wasn't one or two of the people there were not providing the quality service the way it should be done, and they were acting like they were doing you a favor. So I went and just mentioned it to them, and mentioned to the person and to the management, and they got it straightened out. I think the key thing we have to remember, give people an opportunity sometimes. They don't even realize when they're not providing the best service, because all of us come in with a bad day. Something happened at home, may have been a child, may have been a spouse, a friend, a significant other, might be upset about it. Some might be nervous because the president about got us going to war. It makes people nervous. But still in serving people, you have to give them the best service that puts out the best attitude. I'll give you an example. Yesterday we celebrated Mr. Sylvester McPherson's 62nd birthday. One of the things he does in that radio program that I notice on the times I go on with him, he inspires people with inspiration and spiritual inspiration to do your best, to feel good and to share with others. We always say share with others. If you don't have nothing else to share with them, share a good attitude and a good smile. That helps a lot of people, because any of us will be down at a particular time. So if somebody's having a bad day, doesn't give good service, let them know. Just remind them, hey, is everything okay? You know, I didn't get this right. I just had something yesterday. I ordered all the time oatmeal. My oatmeal wasn't even fully done. They didn't put enough water in it, didn't heat it up. I had to go leave and come back and go back to the business and say, look, you see what this happened? And the lady apologized. I said, yeah, take your time. Make sure it's done right. And I think they recognized they were rushing, because I go 3-4 days out of the week to get oatmeal. I could complain and go tell everybody I didn't get my oatmeal right. But do you know that probably 100 days out of the year that I go get that oatmeal, 1 out of the 100 wasn't right. I went to remind them, because there's a new person on there. She just hadn't done what she needed to do. So it's about helping each other and recognizing because something didn't get right the first time. Just let the person know, hey, calm down. I mean, if we take the same attitude to respond back negatively, then you got negative fight negative. But if we just positive way say, hey, you know, you okay? You know, I'm not getting the best service. Now, if they're not a positive person, they're not going to be any better. You go to the management. But if they're a positive person, they'll recognize and they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just having a bad day. Let me get you straight.
Absolutely. And you mentioned expectations. And I often refer to Tuskegee as the biggest little city in the world. So you are right. I think, you know, people expect the best out of Tuskegee, but oftentimes they're not willing themselves to give their part.
That's right. That's
you
right.
know?
It's a two-sided street.
Absolutely.
Two-way street. We got to give the best. And we have to realize, as you said, as I said, the expectations are great in Tuskegee. We made a sister city pact about 3-4 years ago now, maybe just a little 2 years ago. They have been here from Maine 3 or 4 times, and they're coming again during the Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. David and his sister, who came down here before, not the whole group, but his sister from Florida, who's never been here, is coming. But the reason they're coming back, they really enjoyed here. They've been well received. They heard about the history. They saw the examples of what Dr. Booker T. Washington did, and George Washington Carver, and Robert R. Taylor, and Lionel Richie, and Tom Jones. And they come here and seeing it. They're excited about it. They want to share it with others, but they like the positive feeling that you get here. And so they expected it, but it's way more than they even realized. And see, because of what was done so many years ago, there are great expectations of this little city, as you say. And we've got to realize why this is a small community. You and I may knock it around every day and joke with each other and say anything to each other. We can't do that to the people coming in from the outside, because they expect us to be at a certain standard, a certain level of expression, and they expect us to do it in a certain way because of what they've heard about Tuskegee. And if we don't do it that way, we're shortchanging ourselves, and we're shortchanging that history that was given to us. We are responsible for uplifting the history that was given to us. not only by Tuskegee, but this is huge African American history. Right now, for instance, when you look at it in Birmingham in civil rights, which was a major civil rights area, it's been turned around. Why? Because of Mayor Whitfield, who I met with recently, young black mayor. Well, you had the dogs and all that, the civil rights and the church bombing, you got a young black mayor in Birmingham. In Selma, you got a young black mayor in Selma, where the bridge crossing was, and where all the civil rights violence was. A key civil rights center, a movie's been made about that. In Montgomery, you now have elected a young black mayor in Stephen Reed because of the civil rights history there, and the turnaround of the cradle of the Confederacy now has a young black mayor. In Tuskegee, with all the civil rights history and all that, and battles that we had here, and the things with Wallace in the schools, and the other battles, and the Comillion versus Lightfoot, where they closed blacks out of the city, we have a black mayor here in Tuskegee. 4 major civil rights areas where there were major battles fought have black people in them. And now we have the opportunity to serve and make it better for not only our people, but for everybody else, and set an example of this is why we needed opportunity, so we could help take care of our own communities. We can do as well as anybody else, if not better. The foundation was laid years ago, and we got to build on that foundation.
Absolutely. Do you communicate with all those black mayors you just mentioned?
Communicate with every one of them. Dario Milton in Selma. Went down to Selma not too long ago with U.S. Senator Doug Jones. I was invited on being on a panel down there. I met right before the Christmas holidays with the mayor of Birmingham, Mayor Woodfin. Met with Stephen Reed recently, went to his inauguration. Went and saw him after inauguration, talked with he and his wife, and we're going to get together. He's going to come visit us here. So we have a working relationship. Because, see, all of this is a civil rights treaty, and we don't develop that.
Tell me, man, how does it feel to meet with those guys and know that you guys are just a new representation of something that is happening in America?
I saw it with Stephen Reed when I went to his reception right before he was inaugurated, and all these people in there of all colors, and some of the most powerful people in the state, because that's the capital. And it was very impressive to be in there with him and taking pictures with him and meeting people, some who I'd already met because of my position here in Tuskegee, to recognize that there's a turnaround and there's a recognition that we can work together and we have achieved what we were working for. People talk about the dream. The dream is moving on. It's opening up. We've got to take advantage of it working together. When I went to Birmingham, though, I was really surprised when I sat in office in the conference room of the mayor with 1 or 2 of the council people, and Brother Woodfin is a young man. Morehouse graduate, just like up in Montgomery. And we had just a good conversation, and some things he didn't realize I was able to share with him, and some things he shared with me, and he wants to get together and do something. He wants to bring some events there related to Tuskegee University. And I said, certainly, we'll work together. So we're looking at working together to improve our communities. As large as Birmingham is, he needs us just like we need him. Our history is as large as theirs. Now, our city may not be as big, but our history and our name is as large as theirs.
Absolutely.
It's like you said about this little small city. It's got a whole lot to offer if we do it the right way, if we work together. And so, yes, I meet with them. And I also meet with, I met with Mayor Strange when he was mayor of Montgomery. He was white, but we had a good working relationship and conversation. I met with the mayor of Auburn, who was recently elected a couple of years ago, and have met with him, sat down with him, and talk about working together. So we have a strong network of African-American mayors, and even the former Mayor Ford. And we work with a number of mayors throughout this state and throughout the nation. We'll be going down to Eatonville, Florida at the end of January for a major meeting of black mayors. But I also work with the mayors in the surrounding area over in Tallahassee and Auburn. So we have a network in this area working together in Prattville.
Right. And I can see some differences in law enforcement too, because the chief now is everywhere.
Oh, yes.
You know, talking with people, sharing with people, trying to educate and alert people about safety and that kind of thing. The sheriff is 100% committed to everywhere all the time. And all of that is going to help to create a very healthy environment for the future in this city, isn't it?
That's key. Police chief and assistant chief and their team working together with the sheriff have really improved things in this community in terms of working with citizens. They respond timely to things, and they're everywhere, like you said. I saw the sheriff yesterday at the birthday party for Sylvester McPherson. I see the chief at all the events for the senior citizens and community meetings. He's here, and the assistant chief is there. When we had the Christmas party on the square, they were there. When we had the young people had a party down here before the Christmas party, after the high school game between Booker T. Washington and Old Southern, they were here in full force. Both the city and the county working together to make sure everybody was safe. And so that's why we were able to have that, because they felt safe. In the past, we couldn't necessarily have it because they weren't sure that we were going to protect them in that environment. Yes, we have challenges, and some young people have challenges. We know that, but we're working to solve that, and I appreciate the work and the effort that they're making from our police department and with the sheriff's department to really improve things here. We've hired some people recently from Tuskegee. I was very pleased that one of the young ladies, two of the young ladies in the last 2 classes were hired. One, Miss Bedgood, Officer Bedgood, her father's here in Shorter, and she's out of Macon County. And Officer Frazier, her father is Chief Ray, who's over in Franklin, I believe. And he used to be on the sheriff's department. She's continuing this legacy. So we have 2 new females, young females that were hired on our force. We have 2 new gentlemen that were hired. In this class, we have some others coming up. So we're very pleased at what's going on in terms of building. It takes a little time, but the way that they're going about it, they're getting involved in the community, they're talking to the citizens, and they're getting good information about what's going on and how to solve some of these crimes and how to cut down on some of it. It's a work in progress, but it's a good work in progress.
Mayor, now they claim that the mayor's job is part-time, but you in fact have 2 full-time jobs. What do you think about when you go to sleep at night? What's on your mind?
Well, generally I'm up pretty late trying to get some things done, and I just try to make sure that whatever needed to be done that's urgent and immediate, I have at least responded to or have connected with the city manager or someone to at least address that response. And then I keep my phones available, 2 phones, so that if I need to be contacted, I can be contacted. And after that, I try to clear my mind so I can sleep.
Now, when you wake up in the morning, what do you wake up thinking about? What's on your mind then?
I usually will outline some things before I go to bed and leave it on my table, so when I get up, I don't forget to address those things, particularly if they're time-sensitive matters that I need to respond to, or someone that I might need to respond to. So I kind of jot down notes, big letters on a notepad, as those are big sticky pads, to make sure I see that I got to do that thing or those 2 or 3 things this morning. Because inevitably, I'm going to get calls from different people about some other things, and that will throw me off if I don't already have a note to remind me I need to contact this person today. It's like New Year's Eve when the power went out. I got a call New Year's Eve night about 2 o'clock in the morning that the power was out in Maryville Subdivision. Well, the line blinked in our area in Green Fork, but our power didn't go out. So I thought that was probably related. And what had happened, someone hit a pole New Year's Eve evening and knocked the power out of Maryville Subdivision. So I had to send a text and try to contact someone to make sure that they were responding timely. Otherwise, folks would have been without power the whole night, and we didn't want that.
What's your technique, Mayor, for working with the council and with other people in this city that are necessary to make sure that this city functions?
Well, the key thing is to get good understanding and good communication with people. Most of the council I have very good understanding communication with. You try to get a level of confidence so that they can understand that when you're addressing something, that it's serious and that they can count on you and be confident that you're not doing something politically or for any other reason than what's necessary. Because otherwise they lose confidence in you. So what I try to do is establish a good relationship with the council persons and give them good communication. And if we don't agree on something, I try to give them full information so they can decide what position that they want to take. But I try to explain what's going on, explain my position, and ask them if they have any recommendations or suggestions, or at least let them know why we plan to do something a certain way.
Now, what is the actual difference between a council person's position and the mayor's position?
Well, we are all council persons on the council, which is like the board for the city. It's like the board of directors. We set up the policy and we oversee and make sure things are carried out. We set up the budget. The main thing is the mayor is the central figure that presides. He's the chief over the meetings and coordinates the agenda, has to keep things moving. And the mayor, as mayor, you're the main communicator, not only with the council, with the city manager, with the city attorney. All documents coming to the city, coming to the mayor. The mayor is the one who has to sign off because you're the chief elected official of the city. Same as with the county. If you got something serious about law enforcement, the sheriff is the chief elected official, law enforcement in the county. The chairman is the chief elected official for the county. Chairman of the commission is the chief elected official for county general affairs. But when it comes to the city, the mayor is the official that anybody at any other level is going to contact. They're going to contact the mayor, whether it be the governor or somebody at any other level or any other major institution. They contact the mayor. And so it's important because you are the figure at which has to deal with the general overall operation of the city, working with the city manager. The first point of contact generally is the mayor, who works with the city manager, who carries out the administration. And you can get great people to work with. Our latest city manager, Mr. Roberts, is great to work with. He communicates well, and he does what he needs to do and tells me or suggests what we need to do and act on as a council. And then we try to follow whatever he needs to. But establishing good communication with him is important. So the mayor serves as the link. It's the first point of contact for city business in most cases. And he or she is the main person to communicate where the direction is going based on what the feedback that the mayor has gotten from the council.
Now, is the state and the federal government fair with Tuskegee and other small cities?
Well, I guess we all have a different opinion on that at times, but from our standpoint, they've been fair in some things, and other things, we could easily say they haven't been. But I think for the most part, on certain projects, they are. We've been very fortunate and have had the benefit of some good response from the state on Exit 38, for example. When we were working on T100, we had great support from the state, and I can definitely say that. We have some challenges with the state on highway system. Now, we were the beneficiary of a great job on Highway 81 that was fully paved when I first came into office during my first year. We worked with them and got that paved all the way through from I-85 all the way into the downtown. Then a year or two later, they came back and they helped us pave Highway 80, which is MLK, from out at Booker T. Washington High School all the way past the fire station downtown. So in those areas, they've been a lot of help. In some other areas where we're trying to stop this truck traffic coming through the city, they haven't been as fair, because I know in other cities, they don't allow those big trucks to go through the middle of their city. The city square is our central area where a lot of activities occur. A lot of our cultural activities in the city occur on the square. And that should not be somewhere where huge trucks and dump trucks are coming in the middle of the day and interrupting the flow of things downtown. Even when we're not having an activity there, if you have court down there, our courthouse is right in the center, right off the center of the square. You got those huge trucks coming into the middle of our town, which they don't do in other communities. So there's some things we still have to battle and are not treated as fairly as we would expect in some cases. But for the most part, we get a pretty good shake. I've developed a good relationship with people at the state. I sit on a number of boards. So because of working with people and, working to give respect and demanding respect, we work things out. And so we get to coming out pretty good. Not perfect, but it's better.
Well, nothing's actually perfect, in the society in which we are dealing with now. So if you can give it a passing grade, I think that's very important.
Oh, definitely. I'd give it a B+. We want to get to an A level where we know the state is giving us in Tuskegee everything that we should get and the federal government is giving us. But I would say B+. We're doing good here in Tuskegee for the things that we've gotten. And it's a little bit better than good, so I say B+. Now we want to get to at least an A- and keep working on getting that A, where we're getting everything that we can get as a smaller community and even more.
And any focus on the youth? Are there any things happening that will benefit our youth over the short haul or long haul?
Well, for instance, at the airport, we're doing a transition with our FBO, which is a fixed base operator. We have some new people coming in to develop hangars. Their main effort is to provide aviation opportunities for African American youth. It's the Red Tails Foundation. They have met with the superintendent, Dr. Jackie Brooks, Civil Air Patrol. Mayor Pro Tem met with them once when I couldn't be there. And so we've all met together to see how we can provide opportunities for young people in aviation. Not only in flying, but in the whole aviation area that deals with aviation mechanics and business opportunities.
Yeah, because there are big bucks in aviation in all kinds of areas, right?
All kinds of areas, everything from chartering to tourism to flying as a pilot, training others, flight schools. So there's a possibility of even a flight school here, but the first step is to get a civil aviation patrol here, a civil air patrol, which is young people in a program being trained so they can learn to fly and understand aviation. And we have some people helping us with that. That's just one opportunity.
That is in the makings now?
Oh, it's in the makings now. We've had several meetings, and Dr. Brooks has been in on it. I've been in on it. Mayor Pro Tem has been in on it. The president of the university, Dr. McNair, has been on it. We're working with a high school through the university and through Moulton Field. This will be a program that will, encompass the city, the high school level, all the way up to the university level.
Well, that's good to know.
We're hoping to get some more recreational opportunities provided. We're working with our city manager and our most recent city manager, Mr. Roberts, to outline what we can do to provide opportunities for the youth.
Let me touch the hand of the man who had the forethought, the willingness and resources, insight,
Guts.
and what my grandmama used to talk about, the wherewithal to believe that something could happen out here that could benefit Tuskegee. Let me touch that.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Now,
you.
why did you do that?
Why did I do that? The wherewithal, the belief is probably the biggest part of all of that, more than guts and all of that. I believe in this community. I left Birmingham 35 years ago, making a statement to some friends of mine, looking off of the mountain in Birmingham, and I was talking about some decisions in how they should change the highway to correct things up there. This was over 35 years ago. And I said, well, guys, I said, man, they don't care what I think. Yeah, they said, I said, they don't care what I think. I said, I'm going home. And all my buddies said, well, okay, man, we'll see you tomorrow. I said, no, you misunderstand I'm saying. I said, I'm going home to Tuskegee. That's what you mean, man. You got it, man. You single, man, this, that, and the other. I said, I come from a place where you make a difference. I said, and I said, and that's what I just suggested to you guys. I'm not going to be able to make a difference on that comment that I made. And I said, I'm going back home. So that's the devotion I have for this area. Now, today, if you go to Birmingham, and it's over 35 years later, they're doing that correction that I mentioned. That's all. If you go to Birmingham right now.
So you planted the seed, and it finally grew.
From 35 years, that was my suggestion of how that highway should be. But that's just the way it is. Yes, I believe in this community, and this adventure is really not about Jeffrey Potter. This is just, I believe that our economy would be able to be rebuilt off of this interstate, that we needed to tap new resources to rebuild our company.
And if somebody had thought about that here 35 years ago,
it would be just
then
that
we
much
would be
further.
blooming at this time.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. But we just have to take God's timing as He deliver it. I had to go through being a kid here and having a personal interest in the property and stuff like that. So, I really think if I'd have built this station 10, 20 years ago, I'd have built a smaller version and stuff like that of the old style. So I just really think this is just me following God's plan, and that and I'm just overwhelmed of the community. As I built a business in Tuskegee, it was a little bit different. Right now, everywhere I go, I have so much support from this community. It is just overwhelming. So I'm almost feeling like I'm doing my job. This is
those chickens you put down on Chappie James definitely and leave up out of there being very happy.
Well, thank you. Well, I appreciate that comment, and thank you. And yes, that's part of my little training, being involved into this. I'm a construction worker and general contractor, so that was a training. We bought that store to train ourselves to be able to do this one here, and after doing a decent job of that, that just kind of fueled this further. But as I say, this is really, to me, Tuskegee coming to the interstate, presenting ourselves. I had the option to try to do this myself. Everybody asked me, why would you want to go in with the city and this, that, and the other? And I had that comment several times. And I said, I don't want to do this alone. Yeah. And so I think it was well worth it. The mayor and council members and commissioners and stuff like that. And we're not through. It's still more togetherness that we're going to have to still continue to complete this process. We have a whole other side.
Were you shocked with the cooperation and unity that you was able to get out of these entities?
Not necessarily shocked, being honest with you, but I knew I had to work on it, share my plan. That's just part of it. You just can't expect for people to take it on without question. You have to put the proof in. You have to have a plan. So this started 8 years ago of us meeting with the cities and the National Park Service and the counties. Our first utilities board. Our first meeting was in the Airman Center. So I knew I had to come at it with a collective effort. This is a pretty big project. This is a pretty big something that we're doing. So it's nothing that I took it that, you know, that I needed to take the weight on my shoulders. The sheriff department came out and parked a command unit because we had theft breaking in. That's when you're together, guys. The police department started parking across the street. And if I'd have came down here by myself, you know, so that's just why it was worth it to me for me to be involved with the community. And I'm from the community. I'm part of it. So yes, that's just what we I believe in Booker T, saying of cash your bucket where you are. That there's fresh water right here to be harvested.
Mayor, I'm looking at these tanks here, and normally I would assume them to be gasoline tanks. But now my imagination tells me that those tanks are going to pump tax-based money up out of them into our city hall. Is that a proper analogy?
Oh yeah, I would have to agree with you there, Chief. Those tanks represent thousands of gallons of gas that would generate significant revenue in terms of taxes, gas taxes, that will support the city, the county, and the Board of Education as well. So all of us will benefit from it. The Utilities Board as well, all the electricity being used to cause these tanks to pump in this operation out here, so it benefits the entire community.
Now, Mayor, I've been here for 20 years, and I started praying after the 7th or 8th year, 5 years, 8 years, whatever, projections and hoping to pray. Why did it take so long?
I'm not really sure. I think we just couldn't get people together. Bringing people together was the key, and coming to an agreement on how we were going to approach this. We had to have willing people, willing to commit resources, time, and energy, and to find a way to work together with a project agreement that all of us could support. Sometimes you may have an idea about how to do something. I may have an idea about how to do something. Someone else may have an idea, or the Utilities Board, but we aren't all together. The project doesn't go forward. Absolutely. As Mr. Potter has stated to us, it takes all of us working together to make this happen. And it finally came together where we sat down, we figured out what is needed from you, from me, from the City Council, from the Utilities Board, from the Economic Development Authority, from Mr. Potter, from the other people involved in the process, what was needed from all of us to make the project go. And when we got together, sorted it out, and got on the same page, we started making progress. Progress feeds progress. Because for so long, people didn't believe and didn't see anything happen. But when they it started happening, it just started rolling like a snowball.
Now, you mentioned to me off camera that the utility board played a significant part in this. Tell me about that.
Well, utility board was fortunate enough to step into it and realize that we needed to pull all this land together. They were the glue that helped the city and the other entities pull all the land together for this project, because as you see, this is a major project involving several businesses. It's a huddle house, it's a convenience store, it's a service station with numerous pumps, up to almost 20 pumps, pizza place, it's a TCBY yoga place, it's a chicken place, and it's a Greyhound bus station and a truck stop. That's a lot of land that we needed. On the other side, we have Popeyes, the possibility with Shoney's, and right now, our 82-room hotel scheduled to go up. We needed all that land. The Utilities Board stepped in and made the investment to help us pull all these pieces together with the city so we'd have all the land we needed, and then we could work with the different business developers who wanted to come in here and put up their franchises like a Popeyes or Shoney's, or what like Mr. Potter's doing here with the Tuskegee Travel Center.
Now, that brings about a new attitude in me, because people sometimes complain about utility bills. So when I strut up there now and pay my $180 to $200 utility bill, which is not just one thing, everything is incorporated together, which, you know, in some cases is not that bad. Sure. I'm making it possible for my utilities board to step up to the plate, address a plan brought to the city and other entities. That makes me a stakeholder in this growth and development for the city, right?
Oh yes, definitely. Utilities customers, what they've taken is what they make off of the utility board in terms of the resources that they have to have. They could invest in somewhere else. They have to have a certain reserve. But they took part of that reserve to invest it back into the community. And it's well invested in these projects. Well thought of, well secured, and well invested. So
and
that means all of our citizens are invested, because this is ours as a community. The city, utilities board, the citizens of this community help cause this development to take place.
And the utility board had the weight that caused bankers and everybody else to believe that the stock and investments would be protected, right?
Oh yes, oh yes. That was the key to it. That's the base. That gave us the base and the glue that brought all other pieces together.
Right. So now, what do you say to the people now about when they drive past here and they see this creepy crawl of progress? Well, it is really jackpot.
Moving fast.
Yeah, but what do you say to the people about today versus yesteryear?
I think the key thing is we have to remember that just a few months ago, this entire exit was blank. The entire exit was blank, abandoned, and dark. It's totally different now. We see the progress of Popeyes already open. We see the progress behind me that's developing, behind us that's developing. We see the new lights here to meet the progress that's going on. We see the Sheriff's Department working with the city, police department to secure these areas. So I think that people should see that what was once blank and empty, the doorway to Tuskegee is now opening up, lighting up, and being a shining example that's inviting to people and welcoming them to our community. This will cause them to have greater interest to go further beyond the exit, to go into the city. And I think it'll sort of ignite further investment in our community. So we got to support our own community and get involved. There are jobs out here. Take a job out here, like you said, be great in your customer service in the job that you carry out. Come out and get involved and help us build it even further. The better we are in what we do as a community, once these businesses are up and serving others who come across this interstate and stop here, the more we're going to have coming in here. They'll come in further, they'll go to the historic sites, they'll go to the campus, they'll go to the downtown. Some will come in and invest, and that's what we want them to do. Get more people involved and excited about Tuskegee and Macon County because they like what they see when they come here, and they see good business. Business draws business. Good business draws more business.